Human rights and environmental lawyer Steven Donziger, who's just been released from nearly 1,000 days of house arrest as part of a legal ordeal that began after he successfully sued Chevron on behalf of 30,000 Ecuadorian Amazonian indigenous people for dumping 16 billion gallons of oil into their ancestral land. In 2011, Ecuador's Supreme Court ordered Chevron to pay $18 billion in a landmark ruling seen as a major victory for corporate accountability. But Chevron refused to pay or clean up the land. Instead, it launched a legal attack on the ruling, targeting Steven Donziger.
I have with me today the one and only Steven Donziger right here on Unbossed. Steven, it is so wonderful to have you on the show. As we were talking on the break, how much we admire each other. But you are in that champion category. You're a writer, a public speaker, and as they were laying out in your interview on Democracy Now!, one of the lawyers on that wonderful team that won all of those billions of dollars for folks in the Amazon. And I guess in many ways, there's no way to truly repay the damage that Chevron has done to the Amazon. But thank God you and the rest of the team stood up for them. We are so glad to have you here on our show today. I want to start off by asking the question, what motivates Steven Donziger?
Well, it's interesting. I grew up in Northeast Florida, and my grandfather was a lawyer, and I always wanted to be a lawyer, and I always felt the need to try to, utilize whatever legal talent I could develop on behalf of people who are marginalized and screwed over. There's enough lawyers working for the wealthy and the powerful. I wanted to sort of take my skills and work for those who most needed it. So, I've done a whole series of things over the course of my career, but the case in Ecuador against Chevron became sort of the main thing over the last several years, and it's led to really an incredible journey of an example, I think, of a successful sort of human rights campaign involving vulnerable communities, lawyers, donors, funders, supporters, and campaigners. And we really put together a great team, not just lawyers, but lots of other people, advocates and the like, and we were able to achieve success. So they still haven't paid, by the way, so we're still fighting. But the world has never seen, indigenous peoples in the Amazon go to court and win literally billions of dollars to get compensation for the destruction and poisoning of their ancestral lands. And I'll remind people it's still going on, and people down there in Ecuador and the Amazon, indigenous peoples are hurting, they're suffering, many have died, many will die unless there's a cleanup.
And Steven, how is it that they being Chevron, able to get away with not having paid yet?
I would say the answer is abuse of the legal system and the weakness of the judiciary of judges to hold them accountable, to really enforce the law. Chevron's strategy is not unlike Norfolk Southern's in Ohio, or any number of corporations over the years, essentially to wear down the people they have poisoned, they have harmed with litigation. They'd rather pay lawyers and hire big corporate law firms that go into court and file motion after motion, try to delay and ultimately sabotage the process. Their biggest fear is litigation on the merits of the claims. They want anything other than that. So they'll raise all sorts of issues. And it's designed really to tie people up, tire them out, exhaust their resources so they can't keep going. And in our particular case, we were able to overcome most of that to win the case. The stuff we had to go up against would blow your mind if I got into the detail. The sabotage of the trial by Chevron was just extraordinary. I should say attempted sabotage, because we got through it. Victory, and it got affirmed on appeal, but they won't pay, and they're basically challenging the indigenous peoples of Ecuador, who have very little, if no money, to chase them around the world to try to file additional lawsuits on top of the original lawsuits to get them to pay the money that they owe. And that's the process we're in. It's totally unfair. It's how the system is structured, and you see this not just in this case, but in many other cases.
Yeah, what you are describing is immorality. Just plain and simple. You got legal and you have immoral, and sometimes legal and moral, they're on opposite sides. And this is definitely immoral.